soft hands, leaning forward and adjusting. I think they just have more mass. Versus when you're in a chair, you're up, there's less things settling, but all your weight's on your butt. While I think while you're in bed, your whole body's affected. That's my theory as to why you have to move a little bit more. So for a BKA, so you have a 50-year-old BKA come in. It's going to be a left BKA. What contracture is the one that you want to prevent?
Knee flexion?
Knee flexion. Mm-hmm.
Morning, Dave.
I had the PowerPoint open at the bottom.
What happened?
I had the PowerPoint open at
Oh,
the
you got
bottom.
it already.
I'm here for you.
That's why I came in.
Yeah. So it's like, here's the stub.
So,
So I just want to go like right under the stub to kind of. Yeah.
So that, Brian,
Yes.
you were so close.
Yeah.
So close.
Oh no.
But yeah, we're not playing horseshoes.
Okay.
So you
Yes.
fail.
Oh god.
Right now, what position is that in?
That's in flexion.
And
So
we're trying to prevent that.
we're trying to go into extension. So I need double the pillow, or oh even.
So if it was a normal pillow and not this
Okay.
fun round one.
So maybe.
Yeah.
But it's above knee, below knee.
Okay.
So this is a below knee amputation. So you want, which one do you want? What do you want to prevent in a below knee amputation?
Flexion.
Knee flexion.
Yeah.
So if we have the pillow short waist,
That's flexion.
that's flexion. It'll become this way and kind of shove it under the tush.
Okay.
It'll be a longer pillow.
Yeah.
So we'll go this way.
And you could probably also double it up now.
Do you want another one?
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, if you don't mind.
We'll do 9 o'clock, we'll do the PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And then do you want every 40 minutes position change for learning as well?
Right?
The rule of thumb is every 40 minutes for an amputation.
Okay, 40 minutes for amputation,
Yeah.
2 hours for everything else.
Yes.
So for below knee, they would lay supine with a longer pillow?
Yes.
So
So
serious?
the way I remember this, for no matter what the amputation is, the most distal joint is the one that needs to be extended, so they can get I say prostitute every time. Prosthesis. Never say you're prostitute to a patient. Been there, done that. Got good laughs. So, if you can't get full knee extension when you have a below knee, you can't get your leg, your new leg. And if you don't have full hip extension, the above, you can't. So you want the most distal joint available extended. How I remember it.
And every 40 minutes is just to prevent any type of infection or bed sores.
I think closer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
And then everything else is 2 hours.
yes. So I don't know why. I fully don't know why amputation is different, but it is.
Maybe the loss of the,
Yeah, I feel like it has to do with.
the body's not used to that, not extra bit.
Yeah.
So that needs to get used to it.
Also, I feel like it's more uncomfortable. Like personally, find them more uncomfortable positions to be in. All right. So let's say you have a patient who just had her ACL repaired, and she is a 15-year-old girl, and you need to bend that knee and you need to protect her privacy. How are you going to drape that patient? Besides just making sure mom and dad are in the room.
Sitting or?
Yep.
Is there any extra drapes? Oh, these aren't yours, right?
Yeah, those are
Oh,
like,
these are there? Okay.
they've kind of been like the class,
Okay.
bring them home and watch them. Maybe I'll do that this week.
Left knee ACL repair. So I guess sometimes we everything on.
So, don't forget, they're in a gown, they're cold. So you, since you have enough, cover them up top too. So otherwise, you're right with moving it this way. Because they will be in a gown. I like to also tuck under. Personally. Yep, this way when you've been doing it, like trying to fit this in tucked under, that also kind of.
Yeah. That's fine?
Yeah.
Would you see me with this one?
I didn't say either name.
This, this is the one.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun.
Okay.
This is the one that's gonna be short.
Alright. I was just moving it to make
It's
sure
not,
I
it's
didn't
one of
lie.
those things where it's not gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because everything's.
Well, then you can
Well,
plan on
sometimes
it.
it's covered,
I'll do
and that's
it
why,
all.
like, also, like, I
Setting
generally
this off for me.
make sure I'm facing a wall, make sure, like, you can readjust as you need to.
So let me see. Can you go down? I'll see if, can you go down?
So you have a 75-year-old female who just had a left-sided stroke, and she is spastic. How would you position her when you guys are done with your, with this one? So you can start thinking about it.
Is this right?
Left-sided stroke, and she
So in
is.
between, that's all.
No, the patient with the,
Okay, so the HDL is here?
yeah.
Okay, so we're treating
The right arm.
right knee, okay, so make sure the right knee,
Just gonna
yeah,
get
so
the
you want
both
to
here.
make sure the exposed. So I give myself a little bit more.
She said
Pillows.
a stroke on the left side.
Stroke on the left side.
Particularly slack, because when you move their leg,
So lie on your right side.
Yeah.
Right.
when you move that leg,
Just gonna position that.
it's still hidden.
Right. Forward. Straight. Okay.
Sorry, is it?
Comfortable?
Yeah.
You're naked now. There you go.
Oh,
Oh, and then of course, if I had an extra.
Use
Well, use
the
my back.
excess of your advantage. All put under. Make sure the knee is exposed. And make sure the extra's in the center. This way when you go to bend,
Just as the.
Oh yeah, yeah, just so she's spastic.
make a
So-
little.
spastic, what is it anymore?
So the next one's gonna be 75-year-old lady comes in, did I say right-sided?
Left side.
Left-sided CVA, and she's spastic. So the first thing you need to know for that one is if she's a left-sided CVA, what side of the body is affected?
The right
Oh,
side.
right side.
The right side.
Sure. So,
Thank
So if she's spastic, there's something that you need to do also. You want to break that synergy pattern when you position her. So generally, spastic, you're in here. You're stuck in here.
okay, I got you. So lie on your left side.
We'll just pretend her arm's spastic. You don't have to worry about the leg.
Yeah. Can we get a tennis ball maybe?
I don't have any.
Just give me a blanket or something.
Yeah. Blanket, towel.
Blanket,
As long as you know that's what's supposed to be going on.
So,
So they do eventually go sideline. But if you want to work on that synergy, you want to use some gravity to help you extend. So, sideline might not be extend the elbow, bring back the shoulder.
So we would start supine. Let's grab.
I like your fault.
His arm.
Totally.
Yeah,
Palm down.
since her arm is like this, would you put something here to prevent it from going back like that?
So that's where like the over the edge of the table is okay, because gravity's gonna help that. And then you just want to make sure something's under her knees. I just figured you ran out of pillows. Yeah.
So would like the pillow be enough to, or it's like,
So you would just bring their arm out this way with on that pillow to help use the gravity to help extend that elbow. section,
Yes.
under there, and then you just want to, I know you don't have one, just want to make sure something is also under their knees.
Oh, please.
Under both knees so their pelvis is in neutral.
Keeps going back.
I was like, I know that we're like short on.
Yeah. That's the ball. The ball might weigh
Yeah.
down anyway.
And
Okay.
all good. Okay, now let's just position someone in supine for comfort. There's nothing else really going on. You just need to put them back in bed. They were there for some gait and walking. They're a long-term patient. They just have a little, let's say, dementia.
Hang on a second.
Put your feet up.
What's that, Brian? What are you doing?
Raise the legs, please.
Oh, that's for the heels?
Raise the
Yeah.
legs.
Yeah.
All right.
Check the heels.
I just came, I saw like one little thing under the knee, one at the heel.
Yep. Then just under the knees is what I know.
Like a
What?
Twizzler.
You find Twizzlers. You share.
You
Okay.
can also put something on their knees for.
Under the knees, just to keep their pelvis in neutral. All right. So, ow, Lindsay. Okay, so last one, and then I'll jump into some more stuff. You need to work on a patient's upper thoracic and neck, and they're laying on the table. How are you going to position them?
Long seated.
If you want to work on their neck and their sling,
Oh, that's.
sorry, you're positioning them prone. You're positioning them prone. That's what I'm getting at here. I'll even give you guys some tips.
Do what?
Yeah, we're like running out of pillows, so
We have a lot over here. I don't know who I don't know who they are, but.
I'm pretty sure they're my classes. So they're clean because we were diligent about cleaning our stuff. I will say that. My class was like had like laundry parties.
Put this under your.
Oh, no, that's what I need.
Yeah.
What? I think you also want to put something under my feet, right?
Oh yeah, your face is just up. Okay. So say you don't have these fun cervical pillows. What else could you do with a pillow? Now all of these positionings are super broken down in your patient care book as well. In case you guys need a resource to read up on it, I had to read them a lot. So that's where that like textbook, this is how you put them, this is what you do. Because I'm not sure how well they're written out in these PowerPoints, I just honestly don't remember. But in your patient care book, they're super broken down. But otherwise, you guys seem to like, this is very tactile, it kind of makes sense. So you guys seem to be getting it. Alright, apparently it's like a dance party today. Go us.
Yeah.
Alright. So let me see if I can get this light off. We'll jump into this a little bit earlier. One day I'll remember which one is which. There it is. Like a massive piece. Alright. Did we talk about the self solver? We talked different positioning. Okay. Yeah, so I'll have you guys wipe everything down, clean everything up. I'll steal that cervical pillow back from you, Brian. Oh, you put it back. Do you cervical pillows over here? I'm not gonna lie to you.
Really?
Yes, I love body mechanics. And I think it's because I sucked at them so badly, and now I see what everyone's is wrong. I also just, oh no, I should have done berries. I also just really love the idea of being able to like get someone who's wheelchair bound and being able to get them standing for a little while, get them out of their chair. So. So the fun world of biomechanics and transfers. So a transfer is just getting a patient from one position to another one and doing it safely and effectively. So you always want to make sure you use good body mechanics when you do it, using your large muscle groups like your quads to lift. This way it just helps you save your body, it helps keep your patients safe, it conserves your energy. So it helps prevent injury for yourself and injury to the patient. That's the most important part. So you're lifting and you're lifting poorly, you're flexing and rotating, what does that cause? HMP, yep. So you want to prevent those HMPs for yourself. So, and then gravity and friction add resistance to activities. So lifting, reaching. So if something is further away, it's going to be harder. You want to bring it closer to your center of gravity. If you want to move with gravity if you can. So seat's a little bit lower, it's a little bit easier, things of that nature. Okay, use of one's body to produce movement. So you want to make sure it's safe and that you're not doing too much. So you're conserving your energy. And that's where like your little muscles take more. So you don't want to use your arms for everything. You want to use those bigger muscle groups. Make sure it's efficient. And of course your balance and control is also important. Our PowerPoints are very good at like putting all the information on it. So it is going to seem like I'm reading off them a lot. You'll notice that throughout it. So, with most things, okay, so when you go to help your parents or someone unload their groceries, you don't know what's in that bag, right? So sometimes it could be 3 gallons of soda, or it could be a bag of potato chips. You just size up that package. Your patient is your package. Someone could be dense, like they look tiny but they're dense. So check their chart, size up your load. Make sure that patient that looks to be like a 115 isn't just like packing 200 pounds of muscle, because that's going to be a heavier lift than expected. So, and in that, you always want to make sure you call for help if it's too much. There's always someone around. So when you're when you're sizing up your load, and you don't know if this is going to be heavy or light, I always go with be on the side of cautious. Assume it's going to be heavier, and that's how you can prepare yourself. So the motor neurons are recruited properly, all of that fun stuff. If something is larger and heavier, you want a wider base of support, and you want to be as close to the object as possible. Keep it as close to you as possible. So your center of gravity, when standing still, do you guys know where it is?
Belly button.
Anterior to
Lindsay,
the
I'm
S2.
doing my lecture now.
I'm in it. Hi, bye.
All right, forget you.
He acts like I'm the one who's going to be behind. Me all last year was, excuse me, can we lecture now? Excuse me. Okay, so your center of your gravity when standing still is anterior to the S2. Do you guys remember what else is at the level of S2? It's a landmark. PSIS. PSIS. So, when you're lifting, especially a patient, you want your center of gravity to be on the same level of their center of gravity. So if I was going to lift up Brian, I would want to drop myself down to here. So, sometimes you have to roll, push, pull, slide a person to move them closer to you basically move them closer to you to lift them. Pushing's easier than pulling. Rolling's going to be your friend. We'll go over rolling. There's certain ways to position them to help you move them. And for sliding, there's actually, I call them transfer sheets. I think they're called chucks. There's actual, you'll see them under patients in the hospital. There's special sheets to help you lift the patient and slide them over. So we don't have any here, I don't think. But we'll go over that as well. So those are going to be your friend. They're going to be helpful because they help you really move that patient. You don't want to slide a patient with burns, though. It's a really important thing to know. So you want to avoid herniations, which is caused by that flexion and rotation. And you always want to look at where you're going. So when you're just standing that patient up, you're looking straight ahead and then moving your feet to turn them. And your head and your body's going to lead that. And then take your time. Take your time. Don't rush it. If you rush, you're going to get hurt. So Valsalva. So the best way to explain a Valsalva, you know when you strain to go to the bathroom and you really hunker down? That's a Valsalva. So you're causing an internal pressure because you're trying to breathe out against your glottis, and it causes all this pressure in your chest. So, and that can lead to strokes. So that's where we want to really avoid that. You want to make sure your patient is breathing. You want to make sure you're not holding your breath. If you ever notice, physical therapists will tell, especially their older patients, now while you're doing this exercise, count out loud. That's a great way to prevent the Valsalva from happening. Because if you're counting, you're breathing. If you're talking, you're breathing. And if you're breathing, you can't Valsalva. So the biggest takeaway, don't let the patient hold their breath. If they do, it can lead to strokes. You yourself don't hold your breath when you're transferring a patient or lifting something, because it can happen to you too. No, person of gravity. Okay. So, the center of gravity is a point at which the object is heaviest to move or most difficult to adjust to a new position. In standing, it's at the S2. We went over that. So you want to position, you want to position your center of gravity close or equal to their center of gravity, because it's just going to make it easier to move. It reduces the torque required to move or carry the object. Layman's term, easier. Makes sense? Am I going too fast?
No.
Is good? Okay. Oh, vertical line of gravity. Okay, so it intersects the middle of your body. Comes right down the center. So that's kind of how you find your base of support, because it's going to bisect your line. So if my feet are together and there's a line coming through the center of my body, the triangle that I'm being made is very small. So you have a narrow base of support when your feet are together. If you open it up, it's a wide base of support, because that line is still center, and it drops your center of gravity down a little bit too. So knowing where your vertical line of gravity is, knowing that it's the center, in the center of your base of support, you want to keep your center of gravity within your base of support for balance. The more stability you have in your center, the more it's distal mobility, the more you're able to move out. Out with your extremities. I'm going the wrong way. So, everything changes your base of support. Adding a cane gives you a greater base of support. Standing on one foot makes it smaller. The second you reach for an object, my center of gravity is now more forward. And then, adjusting your base of support, that's bringing those feet together, widening them up. It kind of repeats a little bit, helps the hammer home. So before you go to lift anything, same thing, you want to size it up. You want to consider if it's going to be awkward to hold, if you have enough people, if there's anything in your way. So, I'm not your strongest girl in the world. So if I walk into a room and I have like a 250 pound, 300 pound bodybuilder that I need to get out of bed, I'm probably gonna call for help. So that's why they ask for assistance if it's not easily moved. I'm not gonna move him on my own. He's dense. I feel like we did this too. Okay, so obviously you don't want to be far away. That's not going to help me. I want to come nice and close to the object before I lift it up. I want to keep it close. Same with gravity, use it, keep it close. You can use it when bringing things down to help you out. Pushing is easier than pulling. Don't slide a burn patient. You want your patient to help you as much as possible too. Because them doing the activity is going to help them, it helps you. So if they can roll onto their side on their own, or with a little bit of help, let them. You want to make sure that your patient knows what you're doing and where you're going though. So, say Brian's sitting up on the table and I'm going to bring him down to the wheelchair. So I'm going to say, do my whole, hey, I'm Lindsay, I'm going to be your physical therapist assistant today. What's your name?
Brian.
What's your birthday? Good. And then we say, so what we're going to do today is I'm going to get you out of bed and we're going to get down to the wheelchair. So how we're going to do that is, and explain the steps. I'm going to bring you close to the edge. I'm going to lift you up. We're going to move. Depending on his precautions, we'll get into that a little bit more. So you just want to be clear and you want to make sure everything's set up in advance. You want to so if you're going to use a wheelchair, make sure you have the wheelchair. If you're going to use a walker, make sure you have a walker. And secure the equipment. The first thing you do, anytime you are using a wheelchair, is lock the wheels. You will fail practical if you do not lock the wheelchair. That is number one safety. Lock the wheelchair. I even think it was a state board question of like, you need to move this patient. What's the first thing you do? Lock the wheelchair. Lock the brakes. If you're moving them from the chair to the bed, lock the brakes. If you're moving them from the bed to the chair, lock the brakes. Guys, what do you do first?
Lock the brakes.
Lock the brakes. So, you want to avoid giving yourself a herniation. If something's tall, especially for our vertically challenged friends, use a step stool to reach for it. Don't strain for it. And just know your own limitations. I know I'm not lifting a 300-pound guy. I know I'm not doing that by myself. It's okay to call for help. That's why, especially in a hospital, that's why you have CNAs, that's why you have nurses. There's always someone else around. When you are lifting someone, it is important to pull that belly button in tight. Keep a good curve in your spine. You don't want to be here. You know, this is how people get hurt. You see people all the time doing this. You want to bring that, keep your spine in neutral, keep that belly button tight, get good lordosis. That will make you stronger too, if you're in good posture. And
Squat?
what?
Like you're gonna do a squat?
Yeah, like you're going to do a squat, exactly. You're going to come back with the hips and the knees. You're not going to do, I can't even do it. I'm so well trained now. You're not going to bring those knees over your toes. You want to sit back. Don't go out partying the day before work. If you're out partying the day before work, you're not getting a good night's sleep. Your nutrition isn't there. And you're not, it just makes your whole workday harder, but it is that like you're stirring the pot to give yourself an injury. So, maintenance of general body strength and flexibility. I really like make sure you're not make sure you're not doing stupid things. This whole thing to me is like, don't do stupid things before you go to work. I really think the sleeping one and good nutrition is really important. Because if you're sleeping well, your body heals well. If it heals well, you're able to move well. And then, of course, good posture and good body mechanics when lifting. So, potential injuries. So your lumbar spine is the most, especially with lifting, is the most vulnerable. Because very, very common, do people want to, especially when you're moving a patient, just twist. You gotta move your feet. So your lumbar spine is very susceptible to injuries in there. Then of course the ligaments and all the things that come around with the spine. I'm not gonna go to them. So, injury, I feel like at this point you have heard, don't flex and rotate. And sometimes it really is just that one lift and it gets you. And other times it's repetitively doing it wrong, because it's like that 40-year-old guy looking for the newspaper after 40 years of bending and turning. The microtraumas cause a bigger issue. So, types of lifts. Love this. Before we go into this, you guys okay? Any questions? Making sense thus far? Good, but the biggest takeaway, bend from the hips and knees, don't twist. Use your center of gravity to your advantage. So, deep squat lift. These are gonna all, going to seem very similar, because they are. So, feet are gonna come around the object for a deep squat lift. They're just gonna go keep belly tight, back curved, and squat down and lift. We're gonna bring it in close to you, and then come up. If it has handles, so this is your standard lifting things up. Power lift. It's legitimately wide base of support. Same thing. It is your wide base of support, reaching back with the hips first. Your feet are parallel. Straight leg lift. The feet are slightly staggered. This is like when it's coming from lifting a box from a trunk. Pull the object in and stand up. It's not. But in all of these lifts, my legs are doing all of the work. My arms are just kind of there. Ooh, that brings me to, make sure your arms are close. Little packages move better. So this is a great one that you could probably use with your total hip replacement people after their 6-week window. It's your golfers. That one leg's just going to stay back, and they're going to reach for the ground. Because on that side, that's back, you're not breaking 90, but you're still keeping good body mechanics. I feel like naturally a lot of people do this anyway. But so good. The half kneel. So, good posture in your spine, belly tight. You're gonna lean forward. Bring that object onto your knee. Just every time on my surgical day. You're gonna press off, keep it close, and stand right up. Traditional lift, it's basically the same thing as your deep squat. You're wide, bring those feet out wide, get low, good spine, bring it in and lift. This is very light. So you get, it's a good luggageur. So, one puts in front, one's behind. and you squat and lift. So again, knees don't go over toes. It's kind of like a mini lunge. So a lot of these lifts are, we do use them, but you're also going to teach them to your patients. So the whole point is to conserve your energy and reduce the stress and strain on your body when you're moving patients or items in the clinic. You want to keep yourself safe, because if you're not healthy and you're not safe, you can't help your patient well. So it reduces risk of personal injury, leads to safe movement of the spine, promotes and maintains proper body control and balance, and then promotes effective and efficient respiratory and cardiopulmonary. That's your Valsalva. That's saying you don't want to Valsalva, because Valsalvas lead to strokes. Oh, we really did do all this. Okay. Core of the body. It involves your pelvis, it involves your lumbar spine and your hips. And it is very, very reliant on your musculature. Relying on muscular endurance and neuromuscular control. I just want to provide for control. Okay. So, if you're using good body mechanics and you're keeping your trunk over your pelvis, you're going to be able to lift more and do more, because it helps. This is the strongest part of your body, along with the quads. So you want that to take the forces, you want that to do the work for you and not your arms. I'm not going to go over all these muscles. You do not need to know them right this second. You will. But this is everything that's firing and engaging when you're lifting and moving. So, and as you can see, some things on there that you wouldn't expect, like the lats. Lats are a huge muscle in your back, but they insert in the front. It's really frustrating when shoulder patients come in and they're like, well, I did back today. I did back, don't worry. No. You're still moving with your shoulders because it's a strong internal rotator. But it uses both the front and the back, because when one thing's firing, something else is contracting. That's the same word, but there's a balance. There's a balance that happens in your body. So you can't just use your back, your front has to do some work too. Your common back problems: bad posture, repetitive trauma, lifting poorly, bad body mechanics, not enough flexibility. So there is something called back school. You may be asked to do this at some point. And that's just, it sounds less scary than it is. That's just encouraging, teaching, and showing how to use proper mechanics. Radiographers and nurses come in a lot with back pain because they don't lift and move their patients correctly. And on top of that, they have to put them in weird positions, especially radiographers, to get the imaging. So you might get asked in a hospital to give a lesson on how to do proper lifting and mechanics, and that's back school. So that's reinforcing that it is important to, as much as you work hard, to take a rest. And when you rest, make sure that it's not going out partying and drinking, that it is rehydrating your body, eating well, because those are all going to help keep your spine healthy. So, core stabilization, how to correct posture, reinforce balance. So, I am going to have, Brian, you're my so sorry.
Oh, okay.
You're going to come up right here. So, when you're preparing to lift someone, you want to bring yourself close to the patient. And when I say close, I mean, you're in there. You are close. You are chest to chest, cheek to cheek. You're getting close. As you can see, when I come in, I split my stance to get a better base of support. And then I don't lean too far over, too far back. I actually bring him to me. This way my vertical line is still center. And it stays within, the more central it is to your base of support, the better. Yep. Then when I bring him up, I'm gonna have you cross here. I know you can help, but I'm gonna pretend you can't. And then when I bring him up, I'm going through my legs. It's all through my legs, keeping that back, not bringing my back forward. I'm not arching, keeping a nice tall spine, as the Pilates instructors like to say, tall spine. And then if I was to move him, go back up. If I was to put him down into a chair, I'm going to bring him forward. Yeah. Yes, please. And I move my feet.
What if that's a 300-pound person, you get help?
You get help.
But how are you positioning yourself with the help?
So, we'll go over that one in a little bit
Okay.
later, because that comes to team dynamics, and there's different types of lift. There's two-man lifts, but right now we're just going to work us on yourself. And how I just lifted and turned him, there'd be a chair there. I just wanted to knock it up for you.
Is that the sit pivot transfer?
Sit to stand. What I
Sit to
just did.
stand.
Not sit to stand. Sorry. Stand pivot transfer is what I just did with him. So, a really big mistake that happens all the time. I'm still guilty of it. Plan for the activity and make room arrangements. That means clear your path. Make sure that if you're a patient, because like a total hip can take a few steps, a total knee can take a few steps, they're supposed to weight bear, you want them to. You want them to take those few steps. You don't want to do it all for them. It's not the point. Make sure there's nothing in your way, in your path, because it happens all the time. You want to make sure it's a clean transition. So that can mean there's not a foam on the floor, there's not cones on the floor, or that can mean making sure that the arm of the wheelchair is out of your way to move a patient. So it depends on their level of mobility at the same time. And then person's too big, that's your 300-pound patient that you can't lift on your own, you can't stand them up, you're going to get help. And someone will be the captain and give instructions. So I think D'Onofrio and I are going to show you a two-man lift later. I believe that's what he told me. Find out. So, guys, do you think you widen your base of support? And you can, it's starting to get a little repetitive, but that's because it's important. You don't want to bend, I don't even want to do it because it's going to hurt my own back. You don't want to arch like this and bend for something off the ground, even if it's a pen. Get into those good habits of squatting and bending. Flip for things, your book bag, your purses, all of that. If you get in the habits now, you won't lose them. Keeping your base of support wide. Keep lifting big things, keep it close to your body.
And the transfer, you just did, your widening of your base of support was keeping that stance staggered.
Yeah.
Alright.
So it doesn't always have to be this way. It can be this way as well. Whatever makes you feel more secure. There is, when you're transing a patient, you do want, your leg's going to get in your own way this way. This way it's out of your way. Make sure your patient, if your lift team knows what you're doing. If your patient has no idea what you're doing, they will fight you on it. Sometimes that's unpreventable because they have something going on cognitively. But if they don't, they can help you, and you want them to help as much as possible. And avoid jerky movements. So when I lifted Brian, it was smooth. I turned him back, put him back down. You want to make sure that you're not, because that's going to freak your patient out. Your patient's going to panic. It's going to hurt your back because they're going to fight you. It's going to hurt your back because you're stopping short. Keep it smooth, keep it fluid, and the more practice you have, which we will practice, the more smooth you're going to get. And then use your power muscles. Power muscles, they're your legs. Use them. Okay. These are types of transfers. This is a plinth. This is not a bed. The tables that we use are plinths. That, and then that low mat, that's a mat. That's important when it comes to bed to gurney or plinth. Plinths are higher up. They're nice when they're adjustables. Hospital beds are really nice because they adjust. So you can get them at your level. But
Good question.
yeah,
What if, like you say, like if the table is too high, and like
you can't lower it.
yeah, like you wouldn't use a step stool there if you have to transfer someone. So.
No, for the most part, you can slide them to the edge
Uh-huh.
and bring them in towards you and get them to a standing position.
Okay.
And then if there is a non-weight bearing status, it's just modifying that. So if that brings them to onto a surface so that the other legs are weight bearing, you just go from there. So it is a little bit of playing with your precautions in a way of making sure that your patient is safe and you're not breaking their precautions. But sometimes the bed is too high and it puts you in a little bit of a less mechanical advantage, but you do as best as you can to get them into that mechanical advantage for you. So different types of independent. You guys are all independent. You guys can get up and change from seat to table, what have you. Verbal cues or instructions so that can be tactile as well. It would be like, okay, so what you're gonna do now is you're gonna stand up tall, you're gonna take 3 steps to the left, and you're gonna sit back down. That's verbal cueing. SBA, standby assistance, is I'm gonna be right next to that patient. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you stand up and move, and I'm going to be right here. I'm going to be right by your side. Nothing's good. This way, if they slip, they lose their balance. Anything like that, you can just grab that gait belt. Gait belts. You always want to use gait belts when you're transferring a patient. Don't know if that's in here, but because if you use that patient's belt, their own belt or their pant loop, you're giving them a wedgie. And it's not fun to use your own arm and squeeze tight. It's just not comfortable. So, look at that. It's more written out. Okay, so, an assistant is, a dependent, okay, I'm going to go through it this way. So a dependent is, they can do absolutely no help. So that is essentially your completely comatose patient. They can't help you at all. They are dead weight. You're never going to move a completely dependent person on your own. They always require either a Hoyer lift, or, which we'll use a Hoyer lift, they're fine, or assistance from 2 people. A lot of hospitals have lift teams for this type of situation, but completely dependent people are, your sweatshirt's all backwards, completely dead weight.
I got it.
So, but that doesn't mean they're not clean and not well taken care of. It's just that they can't move well. Dr. Stutz-Doyle always talks about she had a patient who could only move 1 finger, and it was the best patient, the cleanest, the best smelling patient that she has ever had, because every day his mom would put him in the Hoyer lift, which is like this really cool. Okay, so have you ever seen those handicap swings in parks? It's usually like a blue seat. So it kind of looks like that. It starts out as this sheet, and it has all these chains, and then it lifts you up, and it puts you into this nice little cocoon of a seat, and it honestly looks like a handicap swing. And you can just move the whole contraption. So this patient and his mother had one, and she was able to bathe him and move him and keep him in spick and span, no pressure ulcers, nothing of that nature. So just because someone's completely dependent does not mean that they're not clean and not well taken care of. And that's why the Hoyer lift is important. Okay, so types of assistance. So minimal assistance is going to be, I always think of this as your like total knee replacement patient. It's not a good way to look at it though, but because they're the one, they need to put weight through it. So the patient's performing 75% of that lift, which means we're only giving 25% effort, which means we're not doing much. So, and then a moderate cyst is kind of like a 50-50. You do half, the patient does half. Work as a solid team. Now your max assist, I always think of it as like a CVA patient, like a low level CVA patient. You're doing a majority of that lift. You're doing 75%. You're doing 50 to 75% of that lift. Patient can't really help you. They might be able to push off with one arm. They can't give you too much. These will make, and I hate to say it this way, make more sense as you do them. Because it's very hard when you're a fully functioning person to play dead. Then standby assistance is you're right there. That's your, okay, so you're going to move here. You're going to move the shoulder this way. You're going to, and you're giving that slight tactile cue, but they're still doing it themselves. They just need a little, like, you need to move your arm here. And then contact guarding is you're just right next to them. I always think your hands, it's near them, your hands on their back while they're walking, but you're not doing anything. You're just right there in case something happens to keep them safe. I'm trying to eavesdrop as to where he's at. No idea. Okay. Make sure your path is clean before you move your patient. Easy. It sounds easy, you'd be surprised. Make sure that if you're using a wheelchair with foot pedals, make sure they're out to the side. If you're using a sliding board, make sure the side of that wheelchair comes off if it's removable, if the armrest is removable. Make sure there's no cones, there's no toys, your gate belt's not in the way. Make sure you have everything with you. So, because what you can't do is get a patient to the edge of the bed who is max assist and then go, oh no, I need something. Because now that you can't leave that patient. You're going to explain to a patient what's going on, and then you can even demonstrate it. So you can explain. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take you out of bed. We're going to take a few steps. We're going to put you down into the wheelchair. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to sit right on the edge of the table. I'm going to scoot you forward so your feet are touching. We're going to stand up on the count of 3, take 2 steps, and slowly lower back down. And demonstrate that to them. This way they know what you're looking for. They're aware of what's going on. If they know your plan and you know your plan, it's golden. Good. And then be aware if they have lines, if they have an IV, if they have a catheter. Especially if it's a male patient and that catheter is inserted, the last thing you want to do is step on it and rip it out. Yes. It has happened. You don't want to be that person. They are not going to like you. You don't want to rip a line, IV out of an arm. So you want to just make sure that it's not going to get, just keep an eye on them. Make sure they're not going to get caught. They're not going to get wrapped up in anything. You won't step on them, they won't step on them. You have somewhere to put that catheter bag. Afterwards, it needs to be below their waist level. Whether that's putting it on the side of the wheelchair, putting it on the side of their bed, or them, see it sometimes, mostly from nurses, them holding it. Ew, I just want to I want them to have both hands free. So, putting it on their walker. So, you're going to look over the chart first. You're going to check, now I will say inpatient's better than outpatient for this one. You're going to check their chart to see if they what their weight is. Because if it's going to be too much of a lift for you, it's not going to go well. Outpatient people like to lie on their chart, so you got to do a little eye assessment. Love when patients come in and they're like, I'm 120 pounds. And I'm like, no, you're not. But I like the confidence. You're gonna check to see if they have if they have a CVA, if they have a stroke, CVA, cardiovascular accident. They might have some cognitive issues, so they might have an aphasia, like a receptive or receptive or expressive aphasia. So they might not understand what you're saying, or they may fully understand, and when they go to speak back to you, it does not make sense. And like you need to know that, because if you're telling them to do this and they're saying Big Bird back to you, and you know that they have expressive aphasia, you're gonna be, okay, they probably understand, it's just the words aren't coming out. We'll go in during neuro, you'll go into how to communicate with someone who has different types of aphasia. And so in their eval, they're gonna tell you how strong that patient is and what type of transfer that physical therapist did with that patient. And always use a gait belt. Gait belt.
What is a gate belt?
So, actually, I have mine with me. So it is a band that's not stretchy. So this, you'll see different types. I don't care for this type, I'm not gonna lie. So you keep it right at their center of gravity. It goes snug on them, but not too uncomfortable. And then it helps you lift them. So that's fun, cute. But this is a gait belt.
That's your own personal one you carry with you?
It is. And then never leave the patient unattended. Especially if they're on the edge of the bed. Never leave them unattended normally, but especially if they're on the edge of the bed. I don't know why, that one scares me a lot. I think I've seen nurses leave them there and almost fall. So you want to make sure the patient is in a safe and comfortable position before you leave them. So a lot of times that's putting them in a recliner chair, that's putting them back into bed in one of those good positionings that we showed you.
Is there a proper way to catch someone if they are falling?
That is a great question. So the goal, if someone is going down, is you want to slowly lower them to the ground. It's not going to be so much of a catch as a slow descent to the floor versus them hard hitting. Because a lot of times if someone's falling, it's going to be that way. There's different ways that they're going to show you if like your gait training and where to put your hands to help prevent those types of things. And we'll get into that eventually. But as far as like just standing and moving someone, you're probably going to have a good grip on them. But if they are going down, you're going to just slowly lower with them. Ooh, I forgot about this. So, you want to make sure that the patient has on hospital socks or grippy shoes, because otherwise that patient's going to slide. If they have on socks, like regular socks, it's not going to, bare feet in a hospital, or even really anywhere, it's not going to go over so great. So make sure that they have on good soled shoes or hospital socks. Make sure you have your walker, wheelchair, sliding board with you. Oh, weight bearing status. Okay, so we talked about being aware of the lines in the catheters, but another thing to keep in mind is the weight bearing status of a patient. That's what WBS stands for. You don't want to stand up a patient and have them take 2 steps if they're non-weight bearing or if they're partial weight bearing. You want to make sure that you're not breaking those precautions. So just keep an eye on the chart, make sure. Using proper body mechanics to lift, keeping that spine neutral, the belly button in. And then position yourself to guard and protect and assist. So you want to make sure that you're not getting in your own way. So when I'm lifting, especially when I lifted Brian, when I turned him this way, since I was going to the left, I kept my left foot behind. If I was the other way, it wasn't going to work. So it's making sure that you're not getting in your own way. That happens a lot. And then, especially with transfers, you're close. Just make sure you want to keep them close, because that's how you keep them protected as well. So you can break it down into components too, of like, all right, so first we're going to stand up. And we're going to stand here for a second. We're going to backtrack this a little bit. So say you have a patient who's lying on the table. And they've been laying on their back all day. And you're there to get them out of bed. No one did anything. They've just been sleeping all night. You're the first thing they see. And you need to get them up to walk. You're not going to immediately stand them up. We're going to get them to the edge of the bed. So you're going to explain that step first. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is bridge and move yourself over, if they can. Let's just say they can. Bridge and move yourself over. Okay, now we're going to sit up on the edge of the bed. Then you're going to give them a minute to rest. And then you're going to explain the next step. Because if you go, okay, we're going to move to the edge of the bed, then we're going to sit you up, and then I want you to do this standing, and then we're going to turn, and then we're going to sit in the chair, and then I'm going to have you stand up again, and then we're going to take a walk. I don't even remember what I just told them. So break it down. It's okay. Do components at a time. Make sure that it's a safe stopping point. So it's sitting on the edge of the bed, safe stopping point. If they're weight bearing, standing up can be a safe stopping point. And sometimes it is just a quick moving them completely.
How would you put someone in a wheelchair if they're non-weight bearing?
So that's different ways. That's a lot of times we'll use the Hoyer lift. But if they're non-weight bearing on like the right leg versus the left, like so they're not non-weight bearing on their right leg, you're gonna transfer them to their strong side. So they can't put any weight on their right, so you're gonna do it to their left side, and you're just gonna turn them and sit. I'll show you in a few minutes, so you always want to transfer to their stronger side, which is gonna be important. So if they have a surgery on one side, so it is totally feasible because they're usually not non-weight bearing on both. They're usually only non-weight bearing on one. If they're non-weight bearing on both, it's a whole new animal. And that's going to probably be a two-man lift anyway. Okay, so bed mobility is the first step to transfers. And so a lot of that's just rolling in bed and bridging in bed. So who wants to jump up on the table? A friend? Someone? A really common thing that you'll see in bed is they were in bed and somehow they ended up down here. And you need to get them, you can't do anything with them like this. You need to get them up towards the north end of the bed. So you would have them, let's go with they can use all their muscles. So you're going to tell them, all right, so bend up both knees for me, Brian. So what you're going to do is you're going to dig your elbows down into the table, and you're going to lift your hips up off the table and slide up. Yep. So see how he turned his head back? Exactly what you want to cue your patient to do too. You want to have them look at where they're going. So you're going to look back and move. So now let's just say he has a CVA. And his left side's affected, so it's a right side CVA. So these lay completely flaccid. What you can do as a therapist is you're going to still encourage him to use this elbow. And you're going to bend this knee up. And you're going to have him, alright, so what I'm going to have you do is press, you're going to look up to where you're going, you're going to press through both elbows and through your feet. And lift your hips above the table. And then you can bring that leg towards. Make sense? So even though it's flaccid, you might have to be there to make sure it doesn't fall out or something like that, but they can still use those limbs.
Can you use the gait belt too? As they pull, you pull with the gait belt? Or not really?
You can. So if they can't, a lot of times you'll just come in here and
Okay,
grab.
just hands and...
So now he's up, and let's just say we need to get him
Oh,
out of bed.
still down.
Out of bed. So we need to get him closer. 2 ways you can do this. So, say he needs to roll. You're going to cross that leg over. This leg's going to come down at your side. We're going to pretend he's full functioning right now because I put him on the wrong side. He's going to reach across towards the handrail. So it's usually up and across.
So assuming there's a handrail here.
So as soon as the hammer, and then you're just gonna give him if he can do it himself, he can. But let's say he's a little weak. You're gonna grab from the hips and the shoulders and roll. See how easy that was? That's pretty. Did you do a lot of work?
No.
I didn't either. Okay. So
So what's the?
you're not doing this one. Get hip replacement. You are not doing this.
What's the next move after that? Like you.
So that was just getting him onto his side.
Oh,
If
okay.
you want to get him off the edge of the bed, like to sit up on the edge,
Yeah.
we're gonna bend up both knees. You're gonna have your patient scooch towards the edge.
So bridge up and
Just bridge and move over.
elbows.
And this is so you'll see this. Bend knees up, roll the side, let legs fly off the bed. So you're gonna come under the shoulders. So what you're not gonna do is come through the patient's legs. You're gonna come around and over. And I'm gonna come under here, and you're just gonna throw his legs down. Do you feel okay?
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
Why
Yeah.
don't you go under?
You can get, so if I go under, I'm now caught. And I have to come much lower versus here. I like to, and this helps you keep the complete package. So I can throw him around.
What was that?
Yeah, the picture kind of feels like a rag doll, not gonna lie. And you're really lucky that SD isn't the one doing it, because she like, sorry about whiplash.
So you do use a little momentum to kind of get
Yes.
them up. Okay.
So, sorry, you're getting the whiplash today,
Go
buddy.
for it.
So if you tried to do this without doing the legs, you're gonna get stuck.
Yeah.
With the legs coming down, I didn't use my upper body at all up here. I use all of his legs. Naturally, if your legs come down, your head comes up. And those are the types of things you want to work on. And that's what she's talking about, like. He's up on one leg at a time. Ooh. Well, I showed you not the one on this sheet, guys. It's okay. So, just bend these up, roll aside, the legs crossed. Yes, baby. I just want to go to the bridge. So let's just start with bed mobility and starting with teaching your patient how to bridge. I know that sounds straightforward, but you have to, because a lot of people, especially us, know how to bridge. But you sometimes really have to explain it down to that patient and show them how to do it and explain what's going on. So the best way to learn what words you want to use is to use your words. So let's take a few minutes and try that, and you can try getting them to sit up over the edges on the side of the bed as well. Okay?
Okay.
And then we'll go into some of the other. Some of the other ones. Some of the upper lip. So it's going to be the thing that gets them in and out of their car, in and out of bed, in and out of different seats, especially if they have trunk control. So they're just this little wooden board about this long. I'm gonna see if he's still done. And stick it under your butt. And you slide. It's kind of cool. totally not gonna be there. He has no idea what this closet like this. Ah! Okay. So, I thought I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna bring the wheelchair over here. Why mop it up when I can just do it for real? Alright, so for sliding bar transfers, you basically want to be on the same level or sliding down. This is where gravity is going to be your friend. Put the chair at a 45-degree angle. And the arms are too small. I should pick up one wheelchair that the arms won't come off. There it is. So, your wheelchair user, paraplegic, will know how to do that. But we'll also show you because you may have a patient who doesn't know. Every wheelchair is a little different. This one is just like a push key on the back. So you just have to take off one. It's going to go under the tush. You never want to put their fingers through. So there's going to be grips. You're never going to put them through it. You want them off to the side. And then the other arm, and you're going to push. Push. I have not used enough strength. Where's that?
I'll do the same thing too.
Oh, how fun. Let me know when you're at 2 minutes.
Yes.
So, 45-degree angle for the chair is very important for transfers. So 45 to 60-degree angle. No matter what the transfer is, that's the angle you want the chair to set at. And you can come back. I see my legs. So, I'm definitely gonna have you guys try this one because it's not as easy as it looks. And like your paraplegics and your spinal cord injury patients, I'll make it look like a breeze. But it's sticking out of that leg and sliding. I'm sliding. So that's a sliding board. It's used for a lot of things, but primarily your spinal cord injury, your paraplegics. It helps keep them independent. We didn't do the 3-person lift here. So there's something called the 3-man deadlift. You never use it. But I'll explain it to you, this way you know what it is. You basically have 3 people, 1, 2, 3, and a patient, and you log roll them in, and you work as a unit. So one person will be like, okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to roll them on their side. 1, 2, 3, roll. All right, now on the count of, your arms are going to go under. Elbows close to your side. On the count of 3, you're going to lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. Someone has the legs. Your strongest friend has the trunk, the center. Your second strongest friend has the head. Your third strongest friend has the feet. And you take 3 steps to the left, 3 steps to the right. Never used. But good to know. Good to know it exists. A 2-person lift. Me and D'Onofrio will show you. We're going to flip back and forth. That's like if someone it happens, someone falls out of their wheelchair and they can't get back in by themselves. So, floor to wheelchair or floor to chair is as it sounds. Now it happens. Someone came out of their wheelchair. Who knows why? But let's say they have the upper body strength. They're going to pick themselves in, bring their legs up. Sometimes their feet, and they can, I'm so short for this, and they can hoist themselves up onto the chair. Oh, that grip. There we go. Now remember, just because their legs don't work doesn't mean that they don't can't use them. So, we're down here. Even though we're down, and sometimes you need a box. That little box over there. Like, I'm too short. I need a box. Okay, hoist this up this way. Oh, my hands are coming off. And then do it again. And hoist this up. So they can still press through those legs even though they're dead weight. That's for the chair. How much is a lot of my upper body? God bless paraplegics. Then bathtub with transfer chair. I'm gonna have to knock here and explain the last three. Because I don't think I can do a good job. And that's not fair to you guys. Because I have personally never done those three.
So when the angle is higher from the wheelchair to say the, what are these called again?
Plinths.
Plinths. That would be a stand transfer.
Yes.
You stand them first and then.
Yes. You have to stand up first. So, biggest, most important thing, get the patient to the edge of the bed. It's so much harder if that patient's in the center of the bed versus the edge of the bed. Because then you're fighting gravity, you're fighting friction, you're fighting all those shear forces. Get them as close to the edge as you can. Make sure that when their feet are going to hit the ground, like where their feet are going to be tangled, crisscross, especially when you have someone who can't feel their feet, don't know where their legs are, things of that nature. Make sure your feet are in the good position. This way you're not getting in your own way. Some of you noticed when you were doing the supine to sit, that having a straight on stance, you were kind of getting in your own way. The staggered stance, that's when it's your friend. Make sure whatever direction you're going, so if you're going to your left, the left foot's behind. If you're going to the right foot's behind. So this is like, make sure they have on hospital socks or some sort of firm shoe. This way they're not sliding across the floor. We always want to use a gait belt. Keeps them safe, keeps you safe. And the armrest on the wheelchairs, and the footrest, great for the patient. They get in your way so much when you go to transfer. So just remove them. Make sure to put them in a safe spot. This way they don't get taken, they don't go anywhere. And then of course, lock the wheelchair. So, this is where the wheelchair needs to be at a 45 to 60 degree angle. And you want to make sure you're transferring to their strong side. So, Brian, I'm going to use you again. I'm just going to use you at this point. We can go back to your table. So, we're going to come in here. You can hop up on the edge of the table. So, we're going to say, so if Brian is a left-sided CVA, his right side is flaccid, left side is strong. The wheelchair is going to be to the left side. Makes sense. Not too hard. Oh, you do not lock the leg.
Sorry, wait, what size CVA does he have?
If his left side is strong, he has a left-sided CVA. Because the right side's
Are
flaccid.
you saying TVA or CVA?
CVA. But it can happen with the TBI, really. So he has a stroke. We'll go with stroke. Okay. So you always want to make sure you're moving to the stronger side. You know, we'll make this easier. He had a knee replacement on this guy. Because I don't have to worry with the arm. He can use both arms. He can't put weight through that leg. And so what you're going to do is you're going to really explain it to him. Alright, Brian, so what we're going to do today, I'm going to scoot you towards the edge of the table. I'm going to have you stand up. We're going to stand for a second. And then we're going to have you take a few steps to the wheelchair. I want you to reach. I'm going to tell you when to take a few steps back. When you feel the wheelchair behind the back of your knees, you're going to reach back with both hands, and then we're going to sit. Okay?
Okay.
So, what you don't want them to do is reach around you, give you a bear hug. Sounds great for you. It's going to pull you down. So, if they can use their hands, let them though. So I'm going to have Brian. So my left foot's going to come in front, right foot's going to come behind. So, I'm going to have you scooch forward towards the edge of the seat.
Do you need me to
Nope.
cross
You're going to use your arms.
that? Okay.
So you're going to scoot forward. Okay, so on 3, you're going to push up. Let me use my gate belt. Let it go.
Right there.
Yeah. I'm telling you guys to use gate belts and I'm not using one. So, scooch back just a little bit. Always put the gate belt on first. Okay, so I'm just going to put this around you. It helps keep you safe. It helps keep me safe. So it's going to be snug but comfortable. Mine loosens a lot, so and sometimes I just tuck it right in across them. Okay. All right, so you're going to scooch forward. Good. I'm going to switch my feet. So on 3, we're going to stand up. Okay? 1, 2, 3. And you're going to take a few steps to turn. All right. Feel this chair behind you? Or no?
Not yet.
Okay, let's step back. Feel the chair? Okay, so you can reach back with your arms and slowly lower. So, when I slowly lowered, I actually lost contact with him. Not the best. It's okay. But I squatted down with him. You want to come down. So now let's say, jump back up for me. He is at a place where I need to just get him there and get him there quickly. He can't weight bear on this leg. So it's still going to be a stand pivot. We're going to get him up. So Brian, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to scoot you forward towards the edge of the table. And one quick motion, we're going to stand you up. We're going to turn, but we're going to put you in the chair. When you feel the chair behind you, reach for that. You're going to reach with this hand for this far handle. Okay? So even when I first lift you up, reach for this far handle, okay? Make sure you won't lose your own pants. And this is why that 45, 60 degrees is important as well. Alright, so scooch forward for me. And forward. Okay, on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. So it's quick and easy. I had to take a little step. That's okay. Sometimes you can really just that patient. Depending on your arm length, leg length, I'm a little shorter. So, for a lot of CVAs, coming up again, we put what's called block the leg. So if they have a flaccid leg, okay. For right now, ignore the wheelchair. We're going to pretend this leg's flaccid. This knee's really swollen today. Moving my friend this weekend. 4 flights of stairs. Not fun. So, you scoot them forward the same way. And when they come down onto the floor, you block out that knee.
Block out the knee?
So your knee is going to
Sorry.
press back into there. You're going to give them a bit of it's almost like a junior rectovatum extension of that knee. This way it does not go anywhere. Go back up on the table. So, you don't have to worry about that one just yet. I think you get wheelchairs. But that's the standing pivot transfer. It looks scarier than it is, but it does take some practice, especially in the beginning because you don't want to be that close to someone. Not gonna lie. If you have a female patient and you are a male clinician and she's uncomfortable, you can put a pillow between you two, because that does happen. Or, and honestly, as a female clinician and male patient, generally don't care. But sometimes they do. You can do the same thing. Important takeaways. 45 to 60 degree angle. Transfer to the strong side. This is sitting pivot. It's the same thing, but you don't get them into full standing. And you're generally going from the same level. We just did standing pivot.
Okay,
Oh, come here.
what's up?
These three, I don't know. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, there's no bathtub in here.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to explain them.
Bathtub, we'll get to it eventually, because the transfer chair is basically a chair that you would put in your bathtub, but yet part of it comes out to the side of the bathtub. So what you're really doing is, say, transferring from a wheelchair to like a table like that height. And so it's the same type of transfer, and they can slide themselves in. So it's much safer as opposed to trying to step in. Transfer chair or transfer bench, that's more the bench. But those are just the same transfers. Like I explained to the guys over there. From now on, like your body mechanics, what you do with the transfer, like your body mechanics are going to count. I don't mean count towards grades, but count towards getting you prepared, because it's just a matter of safety. So whether we do transfer now, eventually we're going to do range of motion. Here's that. Boy, have you lie down. Yeah, so one of the things is, like, from now on, like, you really got to be careful with your body mechanics. And if anything, it's just for your own safety. So if I'm going to do some, if I'm going to do some range of motion, and I'm going to work on his leg, like, I'm not going to be doing this. Right? Look at me. You know, I'm bending, I'm twisting. This is hard. I'm going to come closer to me. Good, right there. And so now I have that wide base, right? My knees and my hips are slightly flexed, my back is straight, and then I'm using that body mechanics. Even just for range of motion. So yeah, we start and we focus on it in transfer, because now we're actually lifting. But it's really gonna use it with everything that we do here on forward. All right? And we'll I told you, we're gonna videotape, not today, maybe Wednesday when we start to practice this, we'll videotape. You know, email it to me, we'll put it up here so you can really see. It's the best way to really see what you're doing and what you're doing wrong. All right? And we're all in the same boat.
You get better at them the more you do them.
Yeah.
Sitting pivot.
You know, some of the stuff, I didn't go too
Yeah,
deep. Like,
okay.
some of the stuff they can
Sitting
read on
and
their own.
standing is the same.
Like when you get into this stuff with like, the pointers, like some of they can do that on their own. Because we don't have a trapeze bar.
Okay, so a trapeze bar, you might not see them in hospitals. They kind of, they come down over the bed. It looks like a square. So you want to avoid the patients from using them, because it reduces their core strength. Core strength is super important no matter what. So, but some of the patients can't, and it is useful to scooting them in and out of bed. Encourage them to try to not use it first, but if they need to, go for it. So, total hips. This is your biggest one, because they can't break 90. So a lot of times what you'll do is you'll scoot them towards the edge of the bed. They're not breaking 90. They're going to come around. They're going to come around. You're going to help this leg come around. They're going to sit back and then scooch forward, keeping that leg straight. And then you can come into your transfer. So, going to go over that again a little bit more. Jasmine, your turn. You're going to become a patient today. So, go ahead and lay back. You're going to support that leg. They don't want you. So, we're going to get you out of bed today, okay? So you have shoulder hip. Can you tell me your precautions? Ask the patient. They may know. They may know them. They should know them. They've been getting told them since before their surgery. They're gonna ask them to see what they say. Do you know what you're not allowed to do with this new hip?
Yes.
Sure, let me know.
I can't flex it past 90, no internal rotation, and no crossing my legs.
Yep, perfect. So, and if they don't know, you're gonna tell them again. So you can't bring your knee to your chest, can't make your knee go past your hip, can't cross that leg over, and no turning your toes in. Can you repeat them back to me? These are important, they're gonna do them. That's what, you need to just reiterate them. Alright, so what I'm gonna have you do, is I'm gonna have you push up on your elbows, and you're gonna sit up a little bit, but I don't want you to break that 90, okay? So just come up a little bit. Good, just sit there. And you can walk your hands behind you, so you're sitting up. Good. You can bring it back just a little bit more. So see how she's not breaking 90? That's allowed. That's good. They can be like that. So, we're gonna go with this hip. Yeah. Left hip. So I'm gonna have you bend this knee up. And you're gonna scooch towards me just a little bit. I'm gonna help you with this leg, okay? Good. And then, so you can keep helping this leg. We're gonna turn to the side. Turn, turn, turn. Turn, turn, turn. Good, 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 good. How you feeling?
Good.
Okay. So now what I want you to do is scooch forward for me. Good, good, good. I mean, she's very mobile. And so you do get this, like, and you're gonna sit towards the edge. Now it's like down. How you feeling, okay?
Yeah.
You better bring them that far down, because you want to be more protective. But like, especially, so what can happen when someone's coming from supine to sitting up is called orthostatic hypotension, so the blood pressure just drops drastically. When that happens, they faint. Someone likes to think he was better than the physical therapist, because he was a physical therapist, and it happened to him when he had his total hip replaced. So it can happen to anyone. He was young and healthy when it happened. Sometimes that blood pressure just drops. So scooch back up. So we're gonna stay here. Come here. How you feeling, okay? Good. Alright, so let's come down towards the edge a little bit more. A little bit more. Good. And put that leg down. And that's how you're gonna keep it, and then you can move into that. They're standing. They're good. They're allowed to stand. They're usually young and young. If they're having total hip replacement, they're usually able to stand up. But the main thing is to just not break those precautions. So just coach them through it, take it segmentally. Sorry, I have to think about this one. It's not hard, but. Okay, so, go back. So you're going to use that rolling technique with them to get them to their side. And then bring those legs up and down at the same time. Keep their spine in neutral. Okay, so this is actually one that you can do yourselves too. How do I get out of bed? Because I have that 9-year-old. So just rolling onto your side. Practicing pressing. So from here, we're going to press through the table and bring those legs down simultaneously. That's for lower back pain, not for spinal cord injuries. Spinal cord injuries, it's going to depend on your level of where that spinal cord is, but for the most part, that's going to be a lot of spinal cords, wheelchairs, so that's going to be your sliding board. But it's just something to be aware of, because depending on what level, just what functions that they have, so. Yeah.
For the precautions, for the total hip replacement, those are the 3 precautions, but
Yes.
for lower back, what's a precaution that, like, they're not supposed to, like, twist?
No twisting. It's going to be like that mechanism of injury of don't flex and rotate at the same time.
Okay. So no.
And it's going to be trying to help them keep that spine in neutral.
Okay. So no twisting, no flexing or rotating, neutral spine.
So So for spinal cord injuries, there's not specific precautions for them. Being aware that it's going to be aware of different levels have different limitations. So the higher up, the less functions that they have. I know it's like very vague right now, but I'll make it a little bit more sense later. Yeah, because I don't want to give you a level or anything here, because I'm not sure. I'll double check on that one for you, if there's a specific level that you need to know. But usually if it's like, generally speaking, if it's lumbar down, they have function of their trunk up. And that's, so they can help as a lot, it's just their legs. Burns, you don't want shearing forces, so you don't want them to slide, you want them to roll. And with burns, what's something that's important about burns? Do you guys remember about how you need to position them?
You don't want.
So for burns, you have to position them in positions of discomfort. So you're avoiding positions of comfort. Oh, a minute. And then hemiplegia, something. So hemiplegia is one side of the body is just not working. The whole side. So that's just being aware that nothing's gonna, when you're moving them and transferring them, that nothing's getting left behind, nothing's getting caught. Because what can happen sometimes with hemiplegia is they're unaware that that side is not there, or that it's not working, so you need to be cognizant for them. Yeah, maybe I'll go into more for minutes. So those four. Oh yeah. So reclining wheelchairs, in the hospitals they're just reclining chairs that are on wheels. It's kind of nice. So it's the same thing. You don't want to break that 90 and don't roll onto the side of their hip replacement. You can also use the adduction pillow to get them when you turn them in the bed. Because that's one thing you do want to watch when you're having them turn, is that not breaking midline. Okay. Okay, so yep. You're going to have the patient roll onto their side. So the same way we did rolling before. You can teach them that way. Cross your leg over, reach across, turn. And it's going to be that same helpful. So what we did before with the supine to sit, where you swung their legs down and helped them, that's going to help them in the lower back one as well. Their legs come down, it's going to help them pop up. Void sliding. Oh, yes. Okay. I forgot about this part. Being cognizant of their totally effective side for hemiplegia. Don't pull. It causes dislocations. It can cause a positive sulcus sign, especially in the shoulder. So that's where the gapping in the glenohumeral joint. Because you want to keep as much tautness in that as possible, especially in those joints. This way you don't want them to have a positive sulcus. You don't want that arm hanging down, because then they end up in that sling. So if we can keep that shoulder joint intact, better. That's it. That's not too bad. Okay. So I'm sure you guys have questions. Maybe not. You guys okay? I'm good. Yeah, it's not. It's a lot of doing.
Yeah, practice.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go see if I can grab 2 more wheelchairs, and we can do some. I'll be right back. If you guys want to practice just like moving around on the beds and stuff while I grab the wheelchairs, go for it.